The confession in the rain on Duvala didn't fall like Earth's rain. It shimmered like silver, falling in slow drops, cold and thick. It didn't soak clothes, but left a soft dusting. Almost like mist, Commander Eli tightened his. Khotan stepped out of the embassy, ready to leave this strange planet for good. He had completed the trade talks. He had shaken the hands. He had smiled for the cameras, and now he just wanted to return to his ship. The streets were empty, the skies dark, and thunder rolled like drums from the clouds above. Then a voice called out from behind him. "Weak and shaking, human," she said, "I'm pregnant." With your puppies, Eli stopped walking. The words didn't make sense. He turned slowly, his boots sinking a little into the rain-dusted ground. She stood in the shadows, barely lit by the glowing street posts. Tall and elegant, with silvery skin and soft glowing eyes. She was Duvalan, no doubt, but her robes were torn. And she looked afraid. It took him a few seconds to recognize her Varel, the translator who worked in the embassy during the peace talks. He stepped closer, confused and cautious. "What did you just say?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. She didn't move, but her eyes looked into his, wide and full of fear. "I'm carrying a child," she whispered. "Your child?" Eli blinked. "That's impossible," he said. "We didn't." You never touched me," she finished for him. "But my species does not need physical contact to conceive." He took a step back. This had to be a trick, a trap. Some kind of political play. No one had ever reported such a thing before, not even in the classified files. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small orb. It hovered in the air and projected a soft light, a medical scan. A glowing shape appeared in the air between them. A small creature floated within, curled up, gently glowing. Its features were strange but familiar. Small human hands, a slightly elongated skull, and a heartbeat. Steady and strong, Eli's breath caught. It was real. The scan didn't lie. "I didn't know," Arel said softly, "until last week when I felt the changes inside me." She held her hands over her stomach, and for the first time, Eli noticed the faint blue lines beneath. Her skin pulsing softly. "Why are you telling me this now?" he asked. "And why here?" "Because they're coming for me," she said. "My people see this child as a threat, as something unnatural." She stepped forward, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "They want to take it out of me, and erase all evidence." Eli looked around. The rain was falling harder now. Sprawl and shadows moved in the corners of the street. He didn't know who to trust anymore. Not the Duvalans, not even his own commanders. He took a slow breath. "How?" he asked. "How could this happen?" Varel's voice trembled. "My kind is sensitive to energy, emotions," she explained. "The way you treated me during the talks, your patience, your kindness, your laughter reached deeper than you knew. Our bond. It created life." Eli's head spun. He remembered the nights they worked late, laughing over strange translation mistakes. He remembered sharing his food, noticing how she smiled when she tasted Earth chocolate for the first time. "I didn't mean to," he said quietly, more to himself than to her. "I know," she replied. "But now we both must face it." Suddenly, the sound of engines roared in the sky above. 3 black drones zipped through the clouds, scanning the streets. Varel's eyes widened in panic. "They've found me," she said. "Please, Eli, help me." Without thinking, Eli grabbed her hand. "Come on," he said. "We'll figure this out. But first, we run." They dashed through the rain, the silver drops bouncing off their skin like sparks behind them. The drones lit up with searchlights, scanning the street where they had just stood. Eli led her down an alley, then into an old maintenance tunnel he had used during a past mission. Inside, it was dark and quiet. Only the soft glow from Varel's skin lit the space around them. They sat in silence for a moment. Breathing hard, Eli looked at her again, This time not as a stranger or even an alien, but as someone who had trusted him with something impossible. He didn't know what to believe. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing: he couldn't let them take her. Not her, and not the child growing inside her.
Asterisk.
Secrets under the skin. Medbay was quiet, filled only with the hum of machines and the soft beeping of monitors. Eli stood by the glass, arms crossed, watching through the transparent barrier as the scan began. Varel lay inside the capsule, her arms folded gently over her stomach, her glowing veins pulsing softly with each breath. Dr. Tanaka, one of Earth's top xenobiologists, adjusted the readings on the console. She had seen strange things in her time. But this was different. This was history, breathing right in front of her. She glanced at Eli, her brows tight, her voice serious. "You realize what this means if the scan confirms it?" she said. This child could change everything. Eli didn't answer. He hadn't slept since bringing Varel to the underground clinic 2 nights ago. The place was off-grid, funded by old Earth alliances that no longer existed publicly, but still ran quietly in the background. The scanner whirred to life, showing a detailed image of the fetus. The child was developing faster than expected, its neural activity spiking in patterns neither fully human nor fully Duvalan. It had fingers, 5 on each hand, but with subtle membranes between them. It had a heart, a dual pulse system beating in a perfect harmony of 2 species. Dr. Tanaka stepped back from the console, her face pale. "It's real," she whispered. "It's not a clone, not a graft, not synthetic. This is a true hybrid." Eli stepped forward, staring at the image. The tiny child floated in the fluid, curled up but active, twisting gently with small kicks. He couldn't look away. There was something familiar in its shape, something innocent. Varel opened her eyes from inside the chamber. She could see Eli through the glass, and her lips moved slowly. "Do you believe me now?" she asked, her voice muffled but clear enough. He nodded silently. He believed her now, but belief came with fear. If this child was real, it wasn't just a miracle. It was a threat to the Duvalan Council, to Earth's military, to every treaty signed in cold halls outside the clinic. Things were already beginning to change. Whispers had spread rumors of a Duvalan royal gone rogue, carrying something dangerous. Earth's Strategic Command was monitoring the orbit, picking up Duvalan patrol signals near Saturn's edge. "They'll come," Dr. Tanaka said quietly. "For her, for the child, maybe for you too." Eli turned away from the screen and clenched his fists. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't even a father. He was just a soldier who had shown kindness. Now the universe wanted to punish him for it. "Can we move her?" he asked. "Somewhere safer." Tanaka hesitated. "She's stable, but the baby's energy patterns are volatile, like it's adapting too fast. If we move her, we risk triggering an early birth, or worse." Before Eli could respond, an alert sounded in the hallway. He rushed to the door and peered through the small screen. 3 figures in Duvalan armor were approaching, cloaked in light-bending tech. "How did they find us?" he muttered. "They must have traced the energy field from the hybrid's aura." Tanaka replied, "It's strong, unnatural-like, a beacon." Eli grabbed his weapon and locked the door. "We have 10 minutes, maybe less," he said. "We need to hide her." But Varel was already sitting up, her voice calm. "No," she said. "They won't harm me, not yet. They want the child alive." Her eyes locked onto Eli's, full of a quiet fire. "I will not run again," she said. "Not without you." There was no time to argue. Tanaka opened a hidden compartment in the Walla medical isolation pod lined with shielding foam. Varel climbed inside, her glow fading as the pod sealed shut, masking her biosignature completely. Just as the door burst open, the Duvalan soldiers stepped in, weapons drawn, scanning the room quickly. Eli stood alone beside the scanner, calm but ready. "You're trespassing," he said flatly. "This is Earth's territory." The lead soldier stepped forward, his helmet clicking. Open to reveal pale blue eyes and silver skin. "We seek the traitor," he said. "You are protecting her, are you not?" Eli didn't flinch. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. "And even if I did, I wouldn't hand her over." The soldier tilted his head. "Then you have chosen extinction," he said coldly, and raised his weapon before he could fire. The scanner behind Eli glowed sharply. The hybrid child's energy surged, lighting up the room in a pulse of blue light. The Duvalan soldiers staggered, blinded, their weapons falling from their hands. Eli stood unmoved behind him. The pod glowed faintly, but held steady. The child inside was protecting them, even unborn. The soldiers turned and fled. Confused and afraid, Eli exhaled slowly, lowering his gun. "I think it just saved our lives," he said, half in awe, half in fear. Tanaka stared at the glowing pod and whispered, "What kind of child is this?" Eli didn't answer. He simply placed a hand on the pod and said, "One we now have to protect with everything we've got." Hunters from the stars above Earth, twisted unnaturally as the three Duvalan warships dropped out of stealth near Jupiter's shadow. They didn't broadcast, didn't request permission, and didn't respond to hails. Their black hulls absorbed light, looking like wounds cut into space itself. Inside Earth's orbital command, alarms screamed across every deck. Generals argued, ambassadors yelled, and code red warnings blinked on every screen. But deep beneath the moon's surface, in a forgotten base built during the old Martian wars, Varel was hiding in silence. Eli paced the room slowly, one hand on his sidearm, the other resting on the glowing pod where Varel lay. The child inside was developing faster every day, too fast for comfort. The readings showed brain activity that matched 10-year-old humans, and it hadn't even been born yet. Dr. Tanaka had stopped calling it a fetus. She now called it the bridge. Not human, not alien, but something that connected the two. Varel stirred, her silver skin glowing brighter than before. She sat up with a soft gasp and looked around, breathing heavily. "They're here," she said, voice trembling. "Feel them watching." Eli stepped closer. "Duvalan scouts?" he asked, already expecting the answer. Varel nodded slowly. "They won't attack Earth. Not openly," she whispered, "but they'll come for us in shadows." Hours later, their fears came true. A small Earth patrol ship vanished while passing through Mars' orbit. No wreckage, no signal, no trace. Then a science station near Europa went silent, and when backup arrived, they found the crew unconscious and one word carved into the metal wall: "Return, they're hunting." Eli said darkly, "And they want us scared." Tanaka looked at the pod, then back at Eli. "How long until the child is born?" "Less than a week," Varel replied. "Maybe sooner." She placed her hand on her belly, feeling the energy shift inside her skin. The baby is strong, but it's also drawing attention from everywhere. Suddenly, the room's lights flickered. Power dipped for less than a second, but it was enough. Eli moved fast, pulling his weapon and motioning for silence. Then he heard its soft metallic clicks in the hallway, like talons scraping on steel. Tanaka froze, her hand reaching for a shock baton. Varel's breath quickened, her veins glowing brighter. The wall to their left hissed open, but no one stood there. Instead, a small black sphere rolled into the room, blinking blue as it scanned everything in a flash. "EMP pulse." Tanaka shouted, but it was too late. The lights died, the equipment went dark, and the security system went offline. Only the soft glow from Varel's skin lit the shadows now. Then the intruders came in tall, cloaked Duvalan warriors with narrow spears and glowing eyes. They didn't speak, didn't warn. They simply moved in like shadows given form. Eli fired first, a shot to the lead attacker's shoulder, knocking him back. Chaos broke loose in seconds. One warrior leaped forward and slammed Eli into the wall. Varel screamed, and the pod behind her cracked open, releasing a pulse of blinding white light. The attackers paused, their armor sizzling under the energy wave. One of them dropped his spear, falling to his knees and clutching his head. Varel's child, still unborn, was defending her again. Eli pulled himself to his feet and swung hard with the butt of his rifle, knocking one Duvalan unconscious. Tanaka activated the emergency override switch hidden beneath her desk. Red backup lights blinked to life, followed by the sound of hissing. Steam and sealed doors. Security lockdown engaged, the system voice announced calmly. The remaining intruders vanished back into the corridor before the blast doors sealed shut. But not before one of them turned and whispered toward Varel. "He is coming," when it was finally quiet again. The three of them sat on the cold floor, shaking and covered in sweat. What did he mean? Eli asked, wiping blood from his lip. "Who's coming?" Varel didn't answer right away. Then she looked up, her voice filled with dread. "My father," she whispered. "High Commander, Valrex, leader of the Outer Fleets." Tanaka's face went pale. "You mean the one responsible for the Jenner massacre?" Varel nodded slowly. "He believes the child is a weapon," she said. "He thinks it must be destroyed before it breathes air." Eli stood up, fists clenched, his voice hard. "Then we'll need to make sure that child is born first, outside." The moon's orbit, the Duvalan ships began to move. The stars themselves seemed to twist under the weight of something massive preparing to arrive. The hunt had only just begun. Asterisk, the hybrid dilemma. The underground lab was silent except for the rhythmic beep of the scanner tracking the child's pulse. Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her eyes wide as new data flooded the screen. The baby's neural activity had reached levels equal to a grown adult's brain. "This isn't just a baby anymore," she whispered. "It's..." Aware, Eli stood behind her, arms crossed, watching the graph rise and shift like a storm. The energy readings were no longer stable. They pulsed with emotion, rising whenever Varel cried, or when Eli stepped near. Varel lay on a padded bench, her hands gently cupping her belly. Her skin shimmered with streaks of gold and violet, now a sign of royal Duvalan heritage surfacing. But there was something else in her glow, something new and unpredictable. "It's growing faster," she said, her voice tired but calm, and "I can hear it." Eli blinked. "You can hear the baby?" "Not with ears," she replied. "With my mind, it's dreaming, Eli, and in those dreams, it speaks your name." Dr. Tanaka turned, alarmed. If this child continues to develop at this speed, its birth could trigger an uncontrolled energy surge. If Earth's command finds out, they'll force us to terminate. "No," Eli said sharply. "They don't know what this child really is. It's not just a mix of DNA, it's something new. Something between us." But the problem wasn't just Earth Command. It was the growing whispers among Earth's diplomats, military leaders, and even rebel factions. Some called the child a miracle, others a mistake, and more than a few called it a weapon. That night, as Varel slept in the glowing chamber, Eli stood outside the glass. He watched her stomach rise and fall, the lights in her skin pulsing to the beat of two hearts. One human, one alien, perfectly in sync. A soft chime rang behind him. Tanaka had finished decrypting an old Duvalan archive she recovered during the last attack. "You need to see this," she said, sliding a tablet toward him. Eli picked it up and watched as a series of ancient Duvalan glyphs turned into Earth language. "The bridge will be born of shared kindness. Not shared blood. Its mind will awaken before its cry. Its body will shake the sky, but its first breath will decide the stars." Tanaka stared at him. "This prophecy isn't fiction, Eli," she said. "Their history predicted This exact event thousands of years ago, so they'll stop at nothing to erase it. Eli muttered, "No wonder her father wants it destroyed." Suddenly, an alert flashed on the monitor. The baby's heart rate had spiked, but it wasn't fear. It was excitement. Varel stirred, her eyes snapping open. "It's coming," she said weakly. "Too early, it wants to come now." Tanaka rushed to her side, scanning the vitals. "It's forcing the birth," she gasped, "but its energy output is off the charts. It could kill both of you." Eli grabbed Varel's hand, his voice steady but tense. "I'm not letting you die here." Varel's eyes locked onto his, tears brimming at the edges. "I'm not afraid to die," she whispered. "I'm afraid of what this child might become without you." Outside the chamber, systems flickered as the power grid trembled. The baby's aura was interfering with nearby electronics. Even shielding wasn't helping now. Then came a low hum, deep and metallic, echoing through the walls of the hidden base. The air grew heavier, and the monitors displayed an incoming ship Dvalan signature. Massive, ancient, and marked with royal seals. "He's here," Varel said softly, her glow dimming. "My father has arrived." Tanaka tapped into the defense grid, but Earth Command had locked it down remotely. They didn't want to fight the Dvalans, they wanted to hand her over. "They're going to give her up," Eli growled, slamming his fist against the wall like she's some tool or stolen data file. Tanaka's voice was quiet but firm. "You need to run. Both of you get off this planet before it's too late. I can't move her in this state." She die. Tanaka paused, then opened a hidden hatch beneath the floor. "There's a stolen rebel shuttle beneath the base. No registry. No trace. Built to fly silent." Eli nodded and bent down, lifting Varel gently in his arms. Her skin burned against his, the heat from the baby almost unbearable. Still, she clung to him, eyes half closed, whispering one word over and over. "Safe." She said, "Keep it safe." They ran down the tunnel, footsteps echoing behind them. Lights above shattered one by one as the Dvalan flagship drew closer to the Earth's upper orbit. The hybrid child's power rippled outward like a star about to be born. And in that moment, Eli made a choice. He wouldn't let governments decide. He wouldn't let warriors interfere. This child wasn't theirs to control. It was his and hers, and something the galaxy had never seen before. The planet of exiles, the stolen rebel shuttles slipped into FTL just seconds before the Dvalan flagship could lock weapons. Eli sat in the pilot's chair, soaked in sweat, one hand gripping the console while the other held Varel's. Her breathing was shallow, and her skin glowed like embers under ash. The child inside her was still fighting to be born, pulsing waves of heat and psychic pressure into the air around them. The ship's systems blinked and flickered, as if even the technology could feel the storm coming. "Just hold on," Eli whispered. "We're almost there." They had set course for a forgotten moon on the edge of Terran space. Agir's Veil. It was once a penal colony for war deserters, now abandoned, its ruins cold and empty. But hidden beneath its ice was something more, a refugee settlement of outcasts, hybrids, and mistakes the galaxy wanted to forget. Varel opened her eyes, barely able to speak. "Why here?" she asked softly. "Why this place?" "Because it's the only place where different isn't punished," Eli replied. As they broke through Agir's misty atmosphere, the land below looked lifeless. Ice plains, frozen rivers, mountains of stone and glass. But nestled in a crater near the equator was a dome of flickering light. Inside it, warmth, life, and something even rarer, peace. They landed just outside the settlement, the shuttle creaking as its damaged wings touched the snow. A group of figures approached from the dome, some humanoid, others alien, and a few clearly hybrid. One had glowing hair and gills, another had human eyes but claws like a lizard. The leader stepped forward, a woman with dark skin, cybernetic arms, and eyes that burned like plasma. "I'm Kaylin," she said. "You brought her here, didn't you?" Eli nodded, still holding Varel in his arms. Kaylin looked down at the glowing child inside her belly and stepped aside without another word. "Come," she said. "We've been waiting for something like this." Inside the dome, heat returned. To their skin, children laughed in alien tongues while strange animals scurried along curved walls. It was a place without nations, without flags, only survival and trust. Dr. Wren, a hybrid of 3 species, took Varel to the medbay carved inside the rock. "She's in early labor," he said. "But her body's burning out too much energy, too fast. Can you save her?" Eli asked, not blinking. Wren paused, placing a long hand on Varel's chest. "I can try, but I'll need to link with the baby's mind," he said, "and hope it doesn't resist." Eli watched as Wren placed a circlet of light over Varel's head, then another on her belly. The room dimmed, and for a moment, all sound faded away. Then a sharp flash of blue light filled the air, followed by a rush of wind without source. Wren staggered back, his skin smoking slightly. He gasped. "It spoke to me. What did it say?" Eli asked quickly. Wren looked shaken. "It said one word, home." Outside the room, Kaylin explained the truth. Over the years, many like Varel had been hunted creatures born of love, mistake, or experiment. Most were lost, but some found a gear's veil and lived in silence. "Your child is different," she said. "It's the first to speak before breath. That makes it dangerous to those who rule through fear." That night, as Varel rested in the warmth of the medical wing, Eli stepped outside to the dome's edge. The stars above flickered between blue and red, as if war and peace argued across the sky. He didn't notice the small hand press against the dome glass until he turned. It was a little girl barefoot, with soft gray skin and glowing eyes like Varel's. She looked at him with curiosity and fear, then said quietly, "You're the father, aren't you?" Eli nodded slowly. "Is that scary?" She asked. "No," he said, kneeling down. "It's the most important thing I've ever been." The girl smiled, then looked up at the sky. "They'll come," she said. "When the baby cries, the stars will answer." Eli felt a cold wind pass through the dome. He turned toward the medbay just as alarms began to ring, soft at first, then louder. Kaylin rushed out, shouting, "The birth has started and it's not going to be quiet." Inside the chamber, Varel's scream wasn't of Pennet, was of light. A beam of golden energy burst from the floor, sending ripples through the dome and far above. Orbiting probes recorded the event and transmitted it to every corner of the galaxy. The child of Earth and Duvala had chosen to enter the world, and the universe was listening. The birth and the betrayal, the dome above Agir's veil cracked with light as the first cry of the child echoed through the sky. It wasn't a normal crino sound came from the mouth, but everything around the child responded. Glass shimmered, snow melted, and the very gravity of the room shifted like it had been touched by something divine. Eli stood frozen near the door, eyes wide, hands trembling. In front of him, Varel gasped for air, her body glowing brighter than any star he had seen. The child floated above her for a moment, wrapped in a cocoon of soft energy, before gently lowering into her arms. Kaylin and the other hybrids backed away slowly, heads lowered. Even the children outside fell silent, instinctively aware that something ancient had been born. The child opened its eyes and they weren't blue or silver or gold. They were every color at once, shifting like water, and then the child smiled. "It's over," Varel whispered, exhausted but alive. "We did it." But Eli's gut told him otherwise. Something was wrong, not with the baby, but with the silence outside, too quiet, too still, like a beast holding its breath before the pounce. Kellen was the first to check the perimeter sensors. Her eyes narrowed, her voice a whisper. Multiple ships inbound, no broadcast, coming fast. Eli stepped to the console and saw dozens of signatures, Duvalan and Terran. Both they had arrived not to celebrate the birth bud to claim it. They think they can just take her. He muttered, rage building in his chest. Varel held the child close, rocking it gently. They're not here for me, she said. They're here to decide who owns the child. But no one owns her, Eli replied. She's not a secret, not a weapon. She's someone that comes buzzed alive, and a cold voice echoed in the chamber. This is Commander Aurex of the Terran fleet, it said. By order of Earth Council, surrender the hybrid. Eli slammed the panel. Turning off the feed, there? Working with the Duvalans, Kalen growled. It was always going to end this way. Dr. Wren rushed in from the shadows, holding a datapad. I just decoded the last wave of genetic data, he said breathlessly. This child doesn't just carry both species, she rewrites them. Her DNA can heal, merge, evolve, if they take her, Kalen added. She be used to make soldiers, slaves, kings. Outside, the ships were already landing in formation. Armored units moving across the snow, they carried binding pods, tranquilizers, and genetic harvesters. No one brought flowers or open arms. Only fear disguised as protocol. Varel stood slowly, her legs shaking, the child still sleeping in her arms. She walked to Eli and pressed her forehead against his chest. If they take her, I'll never see her again, she whispered. Promise me? Eli held her tight, then pulled away and nodded. I won't let them touch her. He said, not while I'm breathing. Kalen opened the emergency escape route beneath the Floran old mining tunnel leading to the southern ice fields. You'll freeze in minutes out there without gear, she warned. We'll make it, Eli replied, or die trying. But as they descended the tunnel, footsteps echoed above, heavy, armored, urgent. Earth soldiers entered the dome with weapons drawn, led by a woman in a black coat with Terran insignia. Her eyes scanned the empty medical chamber, and then she turned to Kalen. Where is it? She asked. Kalen didn't answer, just raised her chin and stared back. Fine. The woman said coldly, if you won't help, we'll make an example. She aimed her pistol at one of the hybrid children nearby, who gasped and froze in fear before the shot could fire. A blast shook the base, then another. And another. Outside, the sky lit up as one of the Duvalan ships exploded mid-air, torn apart by a force unseen. The baby had awakened again, and even buried deep beneath the ice, she was aware. Eli felt the hum of energy in the tunnel grow stronger with each step. The child in Varel's arms blinked and lifted her tiny hand. The tunnel walls began to pulse with light, guiding them forward. Above Earth and Duvalan forces began to turn on each other, each blaming the other for the chaos. Weapons firing, alliances shattering. Kalen used the distraction to lead her people deeper into the base, disappearing into secret vaults by the time the enemy realized the child was gone. The tunnel had already collapsed behind them. Eli, Varel, and their newborn had vanished into the storm. But not for long, because the child had already left a signal in the sky. A single word that echoed across every ship, every species, every sensor. It was not a cry for help, not a scream of pain. It was a command, gentle but absolute enough. Puppies of peace. The frozen wind of Agir's southern fields howled like a beast in mourning. Eli trudged forward through knee-deep snow, one arm shielding Varel, the other cradling their child. Each breath burned in his chest, but he never slowed behind them. The world they had known was tearing itself apart. Earth's armies clashing with Duvalan hunters. Not for territory, not for politics, but for one tiny girl whose heartbeat shook the stars. And yet, in the middle of that storm, she slept peacefully. Glowing like a soft ember in Eli's arms, a small outpost flickered in the distance. Buried into a cliff of ice and stone, Kalen had called it the last light, a safe house used only. In final moments, Eli stumbled through the entrance as the door hissed shut behind him. Sealing away the war, Varel collapsed into the heated cot, trembling but alive. The baby opened her eyes, looking at both parents with that same expression of quiet knowing. "She's calm," Eli said, surprised. "After all that, she's still calm. She doesn't feel fear." Varel whispered, brushing the child's cheek. "She feels us love, warmth, protection. That's what she reflects." As they spoke, a signal pulsed from the baby's chest, soft, invisible, but powerful. It passed through the walls, through the planet, through space, and one by one, the ships above stopped firing, inside orbit. Terran officers froze as their targeting systems went dark. Duvalan captains gasped as their navigation crystals pulsed in harmony. Across two fleets, soldiers stared at their hands, their weapons, their enemies, then slowly lowered their arms. Kalen, watching from the surviving sensors, whispered one word: "She's rewriting instinct." In the skies, the clouds parted, revealing the stars once more. The child had not spoken with her voice, but with her presence. She did not threaten or beg, she simply asked the galaxy to breathe on. The second day, the ships began to retreat. First the Terrans, then the Duvalans, each sending the same coded message back to their worlds: "Do not pursue. She is not property. She is peace." Eli watched the stars return to stillness and finally allowed himself to sit beside Varel. His arms wrapped around her, and together they looked down at the tiny girl in their care. Her eyes still shimmered in 1,000 colors, but now there was something more: laughter. "She looks human," Eli said softly, "but more, she looks whole." Varel replied, "She's not half of anything, she's everything." That evening, Kalen arrived with a few elders from the hybrid colonies. They bowed their heads, not in fear or worship, but in respect. "We've decided something," Kalen said. "This place will no longer be hidden." "We will raise her here," one elder added, "with every kind of voice, every kind of mind. She will walk among differences and know none of them are wrong." Eli and Varel agreed. Their daughter would not belong to one world or the other. She would belong to all who had been cast aside, and to those brave enough to love without fear. In the months that followed, messages came from all across the galaxy, some in anger, some in confusion, but many in hope. Poets called her the Peaceborn, others named her the Bridge, and some quietly just called her Puppy, because one Terran reporter leaked the first scan of the child, and in it, tiny canine ears could be seen folded gently on her newborn head. A small detail, perhaps a genetic anomaly, but it caught the imagination of the universe. "Human, I'm pregnant with your puppies." The words that once felt terrifying now echoed with warmth across planets, because those puppies brought something war never could: healing. One night, as Eli sat near the fire holding his growing daughter in his arms, a soft knock came at the door. He opened it to find another Duvalan woman. Nervous but smiling, she bowed and said gently, "I believe I may be expecting." Behind her stood a Terran man, blushing and silent, holding her hand like it was glass. Eli smiled, stepped aside, and said, "Come in, there's plenty of room." And so it began, not a war, not a revolution, but a quiet joining of hearts. One baby's laugh had broken the silence between stars, and in its echo, the galaxy learned to listen again.